Dunia menje kole ya zulemu molu balunya kole ya dai fama li balava amali mirabang dunia kole ya bedula beledo fisada nyodi menna kole do ya.
Assalamu alaikum to you viewers. I am Mustafa Dabo from the Communication, Education and Extension Service Unit under the Department of Agriculture. We are here today in Jara Jinoy LRR region to witness an induction training for 54 new staff that have been newly appointed under the Department of Agriculture as mixed farming assistants and animal traction instructors. This induction training objectives are mainly to guide these people through the agricultural work sector for them to have a better understanding of the agricultural sector and the extension service unit and also the general orders of the public service unit under PMO. This will be a way to equip them better so they can have a better understanding of the workforce that they are going to be exposed to. Here with me I have a personnel from the Personal Management Office, which is normally called PMO. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell me your name and your portfolio at the PMO office?
I am Famara Kuyate, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Policies and Program, Personnel Management Office. Yes.
This is a program, this is an inductory training today that was being held here, which was organized by the Department of Agriculture for the newly staff that has been appointed. Of what importance it is for PMO to also have its member here.
Okay, thank you very much. And first of all, on behalf of my Permanent Secretary, I thank the management for inviting us to be part of you, to share with you and the staffs some issues relevant to induction. Induction programs are essential for new entrances of into the civil service. Normally, for every 4 months after induction, in an ideal situation, the new entrances should be inducted. The essence is to help understand the mode of operations of government, the entire government, and also to acquaint themselves how the machinery works at the sector level. And essentially, this helps to create also a psychological contract between an officer and the institutions and the government, so that you know your expectations, you know your responsibility, you know how the machinery works, government machinery work, and you will be able to figure out your prospect in terms of your career, so your new employment. So this is an essential thing, and this is why during the program, or during my deliberation, I try to make it very interactive so that it is very practical. It addresses issues that affects our service and are guided, issues that are guided by legal instrument like the General Orders, the Public Service Commission regulation, the Code of Conduct, and the Public Service Act, including other instruments.
For most of us, we have not had this opportunity when we were employed. Exactly. So at least it's something that has added an advantage to what we have learned today and what is expected of us and what we need to deliver to see we move this country where it's supposed to be. Yeah. On that note, I will say thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. And let me seize the opportunity once more on behalf of my Permanent Secretary to thank the Department of Agriculture and the Ministry by extension for inviting us. We having an aggressive step now for the induction. This year alone, we handled 2 batches of induction, conducted 2 induction training at the Management Development Institute. That's a scale that is very rare in previously. But now we are reaching out even at the sector level. That's why I am here, so that we can also deliver at your doorstep. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Then.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
I have been introduced already by protocols. Once more, let me introduce myself as Famara Kuyate, Deputy Permanent Secretary, Policies and Program, Personnel Management Office. I'm here to represent my office, and I extend the appreciation of my Permanent Secretary to be with you here to share what the issues are, especially for new entrances into the service. That is why this program is being organized, an induction exercise. It helps to introduce you to how government machinery operates, so that you know issues, especially your entitlements, your duties, your responsibilities, the laws, the policies governing it, so that you will not be breaching the policy that guide our conduct, our service. This is an induction program. So I will be very practical, so that the objective is for you to understand and be able to operate after our interactions or after the program, the end of the induction. My task is to deliver some selected or key issues on the general orders. So I did exactly, but at the same time I selected other rule books, including the Public Service Commission regulations, the Code of Conduct, and also the procedural manual. From the level of grade 3 and above, and that's your level, all of you receive your appointment or were appointed by the Public Service Commission from grade 3 and above. The minimum qualification for appointment to any post are stipulated in the scheme of service applicable to that post. So when you look at the scheme of service, I will show you a copy here. Maybe that applies to agriculture, so that you see how the progression goes, or what are the entry requirements of your position. So if we are to recruit for any position within the cadre, they must meet those requirements. This is why before they advertise, they must make sure that the advertisement, the standard set there are in line with the scheme. The confirmation, another important issue. After serving 1 year, you're supposed to be confirmed. After serving 1 year, you're supposed to confirm. And this is important. If you are due for confirmation, work with your head of department so that you are confirmed, because you cannot be promoted if you are not confirmed. You cannot be promoted if you are not confirmed. Confirmation also, for you to embark on a study, for instance, long-term studies, you must be a confirmed officer. So you need to take it seriously. At the end of the 1 year, you're supposed to be confirmed. So note that. Once you are due, please take this thing up.
Because here, as agriculturists, you should be able to differentiate between soil fertility and soil productivity. They are different. They are similar, but they are different. Soil fertility refers to the ability of the soil to supply essential nutrient elements for plant growth, of course, without any toxic concentration of any of those elements. To say this one is a micronutrient element, I should not eat too much of it, I should eat only a little of it, they don't have that brain. They will chop it as available to them. All right? If the plant chops the micronutrient elements in abundance, what happens? The plant dies. All right? So it may die of what we call iron toxicity, because it has chopped the iron. It can chop the iron in trace elements, but not in quantities. If it is in large quantities, then the plant dies. So that's why I put that qualifying phrase there, without any toxic concentration of any of those elements. Productivity now, soil productivity refers to the soil's ability to produce crops or sequence of crops in a specified management system. Right? For example, if you grow your crops on loamy soils, your yield is fine, all right? But if, for example, you grow it on your clay soil, groundnut on clay soil, what is the interest? What is our interest on groundnut? Is it the leaves, the stem, or the pods? The nuts, huh? Beautiful. So if you put your groundnuts on clay soils, now what happens? Are you going to get what you expected from that groundnut? Especially during time of harvest, when the soil is dry. Is it possible? It's not possible. But it has all the nutrient elements. But the conditions there, environment is not conducive to produce groundnut. So in that respect, that soil is not productive as far as groundnut is concerned.
So agricultural extension narrows extension down to focus on agricultural related issues. It's not the only extension. You have health workers doing health extension. You have family planning extension. You have other institutions doing extension that is different from you. Sometimes the extension they do is specific to their own areas. That's why he's saying it's applicable to a wide range of areas. But agricultural extension is agricultural focus. I will tell you one thing. Extension is certainly useful. Research has shown that extension is very, very useful, particularly in increasing production. If I can recall well, Professor Van den Baan, in his book, Agricultural Extension, put the incremental value of agricultural extension to between 42 and 45%. That's huge.
Assalamu alaikum to you viewers. I am Mustafa Dabo from the Communication, Education and Extension Service Unit. Here with me today I have a veteran agriculturist. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning.
Can you tell us your name and a little bit background of your work history?
Yeah, they call me Seydou Jallow.
Seydou Jallow.
Yeah, I started work anyway in 1968. Then we had independence anyway. Yeah, but the colonial remains were still here anyway. The colonial remains were here. For example, in those days we were using the conventional extension system, which is directly related to what was happening in UK and Asia, Europe, Asia, and even in America. Yeah, because the British colonized us, and they had to introduce a lot of the things they were doing here in Africa, here in this country. So we adopted a lot of things that was what was called extension in Asia and Europe. Now I worked for some years, to be frank. I started as an agricultural assistant because I went through the training. I went to Nigeria, did an agricultural assistant course and came back and started work as an agricultural assistant in this region, LRR. Actually, LRR was the region for both North Bank and Lower River. Even though I was posted in Yalal Mixed Farming Center in 1970, I was still answerable to the agric station in here. I took over as head of ACU, stayed there for some time, for a couple of years. as head of ACU for 3-4 years. Then I was nominated or identified as somebody who can be the assistant director. Then I finally went to headquarters and became the assistant director. In those days, responsible for extension delivery. Yes. After some time, I had to leave. You know, my experience in communication whilst I was in the communication unit gave me the opportunity to explore a lot of communication paradigms and whatever. And I finally ended up in the National AIDS Secretariat as the IEC specialist for the Secretariat. And that's where I retired, you know, and from that time I became a consultant in agriculture and other communication aspects. This is Seydou Jallow. Yes.
As you said, this is Seydou Jallow, starting from the lower ranks as an agriculture assistant, rising up to being the Deputy Director General. That shows that you have a vast experience with regards to agriculture in the Gambia.
Yes.
This induction training has been a thing that have been not happening in the department for quite a time, because all of us have not been opportune to have it when we were employed. And today you are here as a resource person for the newly appointees that are going to, whom are going to be trained at the mixed farming center level, later be deployed in the field to be extension officers. What will be your advice, and how do you see the government trying to revive or bring about a change to how things are done now?
I must say that first of all, I must register some kind of appreciation for the new thinking within the department and the extension service. Just like you rightly said, induction trainings were part of the Department of Agriculture in the past. Anytime people come from the college, even the university, we kind of create opportunities for them to look at, to know about their roles, to know about the mandate of the whole department and the role they can play to fulfill that mandate. And it has been going on fine. Somehow, for some reasons I do not know, this has not been happening for some time now. And all of a sudden, some new blood came into the system, and they thought that, well, why not we bring it back? And I appreciate it very well. I think this is very good, and I want to also appreciate giving the opportunity to be part of this kind of induction training, because it has provided me the opportunity to look at the past and share my experience of the past with some young people who are just coming into the system, and some people who have been within the system but have not been opportune to see what was happening in the past. So it's very fine. I think that this is very fine. There are a lot of challenges. Here you have a number of people, very young, some are in fact girls, you know, very young, who opted to be within in agriculture and are coming into the system. Well, to maintain these people in the system, it's important that they are motivated. It's important that they are motivated. They are capacitized, you know. You build their capacity, you know, to motivate them. Yes. You bring in a lot of other things that you think that can motivate staff.
And keep them.
And that is what will keep them. If not, if they are demotivated, it will be very easy for them to just leave and look for opportunities. Because you don't know. It might have been interest. It might have been that they do not have, the opportunity or the opportunities at the time, and they grab the first opportunity they have. So the management, the management of the system should have this in mind, that these people, like a lot of other people who will be coming. Should be motivated, to continue.
We have the Administrative Director from the Department of Agriculture, who is called Mr. Ibu Mende. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Mende.
Good afternoon.
We are here today witnessing this induction training, which is a thing that has not been happening in the department for many years. What has brought about this idea?
Thank you very much, Mr. Davo. Like you rightly put it there in your introductory remarks, the Department of Agriculture, as you know, has been going through transformation. In those days, when staffs are recruited, they are given induction, training to put them through, to give them the do's and the don'ts of the department, so that they understand right from the onset. Over the years, I will say for the past 20 to 25 years or more, we have not had this induction training due to a number of reasons. Department, we used to have Department of Extension Services, and then later we moved to National Agricultural Development Agency. In other words, it is no more in the mainstream, one of the traditional, departments. It has been moved to an agency, so through an act of parliament. But because of a number of reasons, it could not work. It could not work. The agency could not work. After 1 year, it was repealed, and then we had a new dispensation, and which is the Department of Agriculture, and that is why some of the things we have been doing in the past are now coming in. So we did a recruitment this year, and the first the badge of mixed farming assistants and animal traction instructors. We decided to put them together and give them an induction training to tell them the do's and the don'ts, how they should operate their responsibilities, what is expected of them, how they should interact with their authorities and with the stakeholders, the farmers. Nowadays we don't call them clientele, we call them stakeholders, because they are also important. Their contribution is important in what we are doing. We thought it wise to bring in veterans, people who have been probably trained by our colonial masters, so they have all the institutional memory, and we decided to bring them as resource persons to share their experience with the young ones. And you could see during this session, it was very, very interactive. A lot of issues have been, discussed, and some of the things, some of us who do not even know them, because we are not there, at the time. So we are able to learn a lot of things, and I am sure that even the participants learned a lot. And that is the rationale behind the induction training, to really equip them, to prepare their mind what they are going to face, probably even the challenges. So,
as we have seen here, most of the newly appointees, most of them are young ones. who have just graduated from high school. Some have just finished their general certificate from the Gambia College with little or less experience in agriculture. And they've been appointed as mixed farming assistants and animal tractor instructors. What is expected from them?
Yes, like you rightly mentioned there, mixed farming assistants, we normally send them to the production centers where we have mixed farming centers. We have 24 mixed farming centers across the country. Most of them are under rehabilitation, and this is where we have production done. That's why we call them production centers. So we take them to those production centers, and that is where they interact with the district extension supervisors and village development promoters or senior agric assistants who are also experienced. That is where they groom them. They also interact with the farmers. That is where we have demonstration, plots, vegetables, and also field crops. So during the process, during the demonstration, they will learn, during the process, and then they acquire knowledge and skills. And then from there, after some years, then we will send them to the field for field experience. They will interact with farmers in the farmers' fields, and then they will be guided by the extension workers and the district extension supervisors. And then later, we will send them to the college to pursue their general certificate in agriculture. Then come back and now they will be appointed as senior agric assistants in the field, where they will be guiding farmers in their agricultural activities. Yes, so that is the whole essence. Then they mix the animal traction instructors. Those are the ones who are actually responsible for machines, machineries, tools and equipment, and also animals that are reared in those mixed farming centers. They are that is their role, and they are also responsible for doing the traction, plowing and most of the things that happen in the production centers. So that is the role of the animal traction instructors, and together the animal traction instructors and the mixed farming assistant, they interact at the production centers, and then they form a team, together with the district extension supervisor to do the production, and then have demonstration plots, where farmers will be invited to learn modern agronomic practices and agricultural practices and techniques, so that they will also go back to their farms and practice what they have seen at the production centers. So that is the whole essence about.
With the last question, what will be your advice to the newly employees to the department?
Yeah, well, my first advice to them is that agriculture, when you come into agriculture, it should be your passion that is driving you to be an agriculturist. In the beginning, you will have challenges, but if you have the passion, you have the commitment to what you are doing, and your supervisors see how you are performing, eventually you will excel in your career. So I advise them to be passionate about what they are doing, to be committed to what they are doing, and also be ready to learn. It's one thing to acquire book knowledge, but it's another thing to be able to put it into practice. So I advise them to be ready to learn from their supervisors and even farmers, because they also have something to offer. And I encourage them to network with their colleagues. And we are in a modern age where we have different platforms, and even regional platforms are created with their supervisors, where when you have a question question, you can put it in the platform, and somebody somewhere else will be able to advise you, and we work as a team. That is my advice for them.